Hey, welcome back travelers. Welcome to Traveling Guru. I'm your host, Dennis Foutz, where every week we take an insider look at travel and tourism. Today I'm excited to talk about Cuba. Can Americans travel to Cuba into 2018? And the answer is yes. But there are a few things that you need to consider before making that next fabulous bucket list adventure. Let's get started. Before we get into the how-tos travel into Cuba now, moving into 2018, man, what is it that draws people into Havana and Cienfuegos and these areas into Cuba where there are so many restrictions for Americans going into it? Well, it's simply to look back. For 50 years, the amount of history that is just surrounds such a beautiful country like Cuba is. This is what draws people to Cuba. The smell, the colors, the art, that's what really brings them back. All right, so now let's get into how you can experience these same cultural events that they did. All right, let's talk about one of the quickest and easiest ways that you and your family and your group can get into Cuba and enjoy it simply and easily. And that is, okay, go on a cruise. So if you have limited amount of time, like 4 or 5 days, I would suggest on a budget to look at Carnival in Havana with your travel expert for Cuba. Now, if you have a little bit higher budget and a little bit more time, cruising with something like Viking all adult or an Azamara, Celestyal, these are much more all-inclusive, much more luxury, and you're going to see their cruises not just going to Havana, but Cienfuegos and getting around the island. The question is, how much time do you want to spend in Cuba? Is the 2 days in Havana taking tours enough with 4 or 5 days, or do you want to spend something more like 10 or 14 nights seeing a little bit more of the Caribbean and a little bit more than just Havana, maybe 1 or 2 other ports, to really gain a different grasp of cruising and the culture around Cuba, and maybe a few other islands. Okay, that's cruising. Let's talk about land. So now that we've covered going by sea and how the simplification of getting into Cuba is presented to you, and how everything's more hands-free for you, so you can unpack once and you get to see the world. Now by land, it's a very different feeling going into Cuba, where we talked about when you're on a more restricted budget, you can see more options on a cruise, so you get to go into like Havana. If you have for maybe 2 days. If you have a larger budget, you get to work around the island. Now by land, you get to go straight to the immersion, straight to the experience, because now that we have those stricter guidelines, by needing a tour operator basically to get you through the area, hey, you know what? They're going to provide you the efficient and expeditious means of getting to see this wonderful, wonderful country. Cities that you should expect to see is like going into Camagüey, which has a ballet company that it's wow, right? It's just this is what they do. King Ranch, where you see local cowboys and that village residents. Trinidad, also very popular into where you could see into the city center, a lot like Havana, just a little different, where you get to see a different piece of that culture. Cienfuegos, this is where Cienfuegos, very, very popular for those people who like to, what do you remember? I think of as a child when I lived down in the Tampa Bay area, and you see those Cubans that are rolling, the men that are rolling those cigars right there at the window. Cienfuegos gives you that definite immersion into that Ybor City feel, except that it's in Cuba all around you. Cienfuegos is a place you definitely have to go if you're going to go by land into Cuba. And then finally Playa Girón, which is the historical Bay of Pigs, and then Havana, which we all have dreamed, and what we think of as Cuba is definitely the Havana Old Town, Old Havana area, and all the things that we see that Cuba is on TV. Well, that's land. So, what Cuba is? Cuba is culture. Cuba is the land of your father's generation. Cuba is the experience of the Picasso, the Cuban cigars, the Cuban rum, the beautiful culture of people, the dancing, the colors. Cuba is it all. you can see it in two ways in summary: by land or by sea. By sea, it's definitely easier. By land, it's a little bit more complicated. You will need to fit into specific categories that are now eligible under the new Trump administration rules as of November 7th. But it's all there. It's all possible. You just need to trust a great travel advisor, a great travel agency, and get there. I promise you, if you travel there in 2018, and I want to see you go in 2018, you will just love it. Take your friends, take your family, take a group. Cuba is calling you. Okay, so if you've enjoyed this video and the introduction and the insight into Cuba and tourism, hey, give me the thumbs up in my video and tell me that you really loved it. If you have any questions, please put them below. And of course, you can give me the best compliment of ever, which is to share this video and subscribe to it if you haven't already. Alright, thank you very much, and thank you for watching Traveling Guru. Alright, see you next week. Bye-bye.